Hello and welcome to MacFormat's weekly Apple Extravaganza. I'm Chris Finn.
I'm Matt Bolton.
And on this episode we talk about the Mac that Apple seems not to love anymore.
The future of shops.
And apparently if you see a stylus they blew it, but we've got a stylus to show you that is, if nothing else, moderately good. Let's start with news in the world of Apple. Right, before we talk about what I want to talk about, let's take a couple of seconds to talk about the new low-end Retina MacBook Pro, which is, we think, a good deal.
It's not new.
No, it's not new.
It's just a tweak to the
low-end one. It has been tweaked, and more importantly, the price has been tweaked as well.
Yes, I think it's a very, very good deal for people in the UK, because in the US it's just a change to the spec.
And probably in Europe as well. We think this might be a currency exchange rate equalisation on Apple's part, which they don't usually do. They're not usually very proactive with that, but maybe that's what they're doing here.
Maybe the other way around.
Yeah.
But no, so the prices have come down over here, seemingly basically because the pound is very strong against the dollar.
And what's more, it's not just the price has come down to $999. Is it $999?
It has come down to $999.
But it's not just that the price has come down, but that also the RAM has doubled. Because it was at 4 gig of RAM, it's now 8 gig of RAM, and it's really good. But one of the losers in that is the next model up, which had been £150 more for twice the storage space, 256 gig rather than 128, and twice the RAM, 8 gig rather than 4 gig. It's now £200 more just for the increase in SSD.
Yes, which I think is... this feels like a strong word, but I'm going to go with unjustifiable. It feels like they've just adjusted all the prices and not thought about it in any way. But
that entry level one now is a really, really good little machine, cracking little machine, and especially you were looking at education pricing for that. £860 was it?
Ish, close
enough. Which is that's so compelling. However, what I actually want to talk about is the Mac Mini, because we keep saying every time the Apple Store goes down, maybe the Mac Mini is going to get an upgrade, because currently the Mac Mini is £499 for a 2.5 gigahertz dual core i5, 4 gig of RAM, and a little hard disk of half a terabyte. 4 gig of RAM, not great. But importantly, HD Graphics 5000. 4000, sorry.
Yeah, it's what, 3 years old, the chip's in it now? It's just hasn't had any love at all. And it's... Why? There are chips you can put in. It can't be that much effort, can it? It's
such a lovely machine. And one of the reasons that it's nearly a decade old now. The original Mac Mini debuted in 2005. And one of the reasons that it kind of made sense at the time was that you're taking laptop parts, put them in a desktop case, a small form factor desktop case, and you were acknowledging the trade-off you were making. But Apple now uses laptop parts in even the iMacs. So that trade-off is less justifiable.
Yeah, and because it was a G4, the first one, wasn't it?
It's a 1.25 gigahertz G4.
And that was when G5 was in the iMacs. So, it was a PowerBook in a small desktop. Which was fine. It's great. And if they keep doing that, it's fine. Come on.
Such lovely little machines. And the one we've got here is... this is one of the... Exactly. This is actually an Intel model, but it's the original case design. Excuse the future publishing tracking sticker in the front of it, but it's such a beautiful little machine. It's a capable little machine. It's not a powerhouse, but it is, as we've always said, computers these days become, the things they can't do on low power becomes fewer and fewer.
So there's two directions for the Mac Mini to go in. One is the current direction that it's on, which is... in this case, you'd put maybe the stuff from like a quad-core processor from the iMac in one, or the dual-core processor from the MacBook Pro in a lower-end version, and just keep as it is, reasonably powerful, cheapish, this sort of size. It's already a bit smaller, but not a million miles. The other option would be put the MacBook Air guts in and aim to make it even smaller, and possibly even cheaper, depending on factors we don't know, and make it this real kind of low touch, low power,
almost a thin client computer. Almost.
They make those like Chrome boxes that just stick to the back of a monitor. They're designed to just be this thick, and you just pop them on the back, and you turn your monitor into an iMac that's very low power.
You've even got like Android on HDMI sticks.
That kind of thing. So one of the options would be, it'd be interesting if Apple could make just a very thin thing that's got a MacBook Air. small SSD and processor in that you could just slap on a monitor.
I especially like this form factor. I think it's much cuter than the new flatter, wider one. And also this one you can upgrade quite easily, because even though with the new one it's easier to get into it, i.e. you just you rotate the base and you pull it off and you can upgrade the RAM. That's all you can do. Whereas this one, you can actually get into it, pull it apart, and you can do some really good stuff. In fact, here is my toolkit. Cameraman, come and witness my toolkit. You be quiet. And in here we have a very important piece of equipment.
Is it?
It's my home-based putty knife.
Yes.
My wallpaper scraper, which is what you'd use with one of these things. You'd flip it over, you'd basically put the putty knife in, and you'd ease the catches that are holding this there. And you can replace the hard disk, replace the optical drive with a hard disk. You can do a whole bunch of stuff. I hadn't realised until I looked it up today, there is actually an official Apple part for a modified putty knife. Obviously this isn't it.
Right, yeah.
But there is actually in the service manual for this generation of machines, there is
you need to order
official
part number
Apple part,
AP,
which is called the modified putty knife, which is rather delicious. However.
Right. Yes, well, let's move on to the wider world of tech. So this week, in fact in the last couple of days as we film, Square, the poster child for mobile payments, rather than one of the many other companies that start with Square, has finally announced a chip and pin version of its mobile payment taker, which in Square's case is a little dongle that plugs into the headphone jack of an iOS device.
It's a really nice little way of doing things.
Yeah, it's announced it because chip and pin is finally coming to America, which has basically double the credit card fraud it should do. And someone's gone, oh, what if we did what everyone else in the world does and be more secure? So that's nice for them. Thanks. But this means that Square could finally come to the UK, because it hasn't before. And it's a big thing, but it hasn't. We do have PayPal here, and the iZettle already work for chip and pin. But
there
there's
are some
slightly
other
less
ones as well.
wieldy devices compared to the very neatness of Square. But the point of these mobile device payment options is that they take a fairly standard cut of the transaction, which in Square's case is 2.7%, sort of like you'd expect any money handling service to take. PayPal's is Square's is 2.75%, PayPal's is 2.7%,
right. Quite
the undercut.
Yeah.
But the point is, you can take card payments anywhere, at a car boot sale, at a market stall.
So if you're a little independent coffee shop, if you've got a pop-up shop selling Etsy style craft stuff, you can just
any of this stuff.
Take credit cards
anywhere you
and
like.
debit cards.
So it's a disruption, classic bit of disruption that hasn't stumbled to make it over here a little bit, partly because the biggest name in it hasn't made it over here.
Yeah. That's the thing. I think Square is, as you say, poster child's a good phrase. It's not the only one, but it's the one that has the most, and I'm going to say the word unashamedly, mind share amongst the public and amongst the traders that would use it. You reach for Square. In fact, they also do an iPad-based point-of-sale system. Yeah. So you can, for slightly more involved systems, you can do things that way. Of course, Apple itself can take payments on mobile transactions in the retail stores.
Oh, yes, sorry, I see what you mean. Yes, they've got their custom iPod Touch sleeves
they
developed all custom. I thought you meant like Apple could take payments for you. I was like, no, I've missed this.
No. But it's a nice thing, and as you say, it's sort of disintermediates, and it genuinely can disrupt, because, in fact, we just had a barbecue restaurant open up in Bath, haven't we, Matthew?
Yes.
Which is very good.
Yes.
Called Grill Stock. Check it out, they're good guys. Hopefully that's good enough for a free rack of ribs at some point. But they're genuinely really nice stuff, but they haven't had they can't take credit card payments because they've had trouble with BT installing their line. Yeah. So they've been open for a month. Apple and BT still hasn't installed their line to take credit card payments, but this way they could just bypass that in theory.
In theory, although in practice they're in a dungeon and they wouldn't get any mobile signal. But in theory, perfect for them. Yeah, and like there's, you can imagine. But
that's even for like sort of established shops. Never mind the sort of transient traders that you kind of, I at least associate with something like Square.
Yeah, and it's funny, you go to lots of places and they have these they'll have like wireless card machines, and then in some of them, especially in Bath where we live, where there are a lot of old brick buildings where the signal's dodgy, they'll kind of take your card and say, I just have to pop off for a second, and you see them by the window holding it up, kind of trying to get enough signal.
Or you're asked to move past a certain brick wall round a corner so that there's a doorway between you and the base station.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fine. So it could be genuinely a really, really useful thing.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's quite low touch to set up, I believe. That essentially, because I know that the setting up obviously like proper credit card payment stuff there's a logistical rigmarole involved in getting that done. Dealing with the companies and getting the machines and all that sort of stuff. Whereas in this case, I think it's just in a very sort of American libertarian style. You place an order for a square, it arrives, and you start taking payments, pretty much.
Yeah, I guess rejigging to business accounts. I don't know what's fully involved, but yeah, and it makes you wonder. you see all the companies that make the current chip and pin machines, and like I wonder where they are in this new thing, because surely this was an obvious thing they would have to get on board with pretty quick, and yet it's startups and it's PayPal and who
it's Silicon Valley disrupting.
Yeah, it seems very strange. You would think there must be some pretty smart people at these companies. Surely they could have seen.
It's often the case, though, isn't it, that there's an institutional inertia that stops people from changing direction, stops people from adapting to new technologies, and that's killed a lot of companies in the past. I don't think it will kill mobile credit card transaction companies, at least not for the foreseeable future. But
no, but the people who make the machines that do it, because it's still probably mostly like Visa and MasterCard who are
actually behind it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so hopefully with this, the most famous name possibly finally launching in the UK. It's not definite, but it could.
The door is now open.
It has the technology and
we can build it.
Yeah, and maybe that will provide a bit of an umbrella effect on PayPal here, which you wouldn't think needs one, but I don't see them. Like no one talks about it.
So let us know what you think of all that stuff. If you were at a car boot sale, for example, and someone took out their iPhone with a little white thing attached to it and offered to take your Visa card, would you do it? Would you be nervous about it? And do you have fond memories of the Mac Mini? What would you like to see happen to it? How would you like to see it evolve?
Fond memories. Do you have one now still?
Yes.
Or would you buy?
I still have one.
Would you buy one if they were updated? Have you been holding off because it's decrepit?
Let us know in the comments below. Let's move on to our kit of the week. Okay, what we have here is the new Adonit stylus, the Jot Touch. Now,
they're all called Jot Touch, aren't they?
No, there's all sorts of different names for them.
Are they?
So come in tight, Mr. Cameraman, if you'd be so terribly kind, because this one here is the newest model. It costs $120. It is not a cheap thing by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a Bluetooth stylus which is pressure sensitive. Previously, we had the Jot Script, which was done in conjunction with Evernote, and this one we had a very fine tip on it, but it wasn't pressure sensitive. And we also have the old style, which we're very fond of, the Adonit Jot Pro, which gets around the fact that the iPad's designed to work with finger presses by having this disc on the end, this rotating disc on a little ball, which spreads out the signal and basically replicates a finger. Yeah,
the iPad ignores very, very fine touches normally.
Which is why something like this is quite interesting, because we have a fine, at least in the context
finer
thing. And that's it. You may now return to your post, cameraman. Thank you. But it does work. It has to be supported by apps. It's not like you'll just be able to plug it in and use it with anything at all.
It's not an iOS level thing.
It's not an iOS level thing. It has
so the Jot Script worked with Evernote, as you said.
And other things as well.
Yeah. But this one worked with Adobe.
It will work with other apps as the SDK is rolled out, as the development kit that Adonit makes can be integrated into other apps. But it works with, for example, the new Adobe Sketch app. And you won't be able to see me doing this particularly well, even if the cameraman comes back. Thank you, cameraman. Let's see if you can see. If I make some lines with this, I can make some light lines, or I can press more heavily and make some dark lines. And like with Wacom's range of digitizers, at least laterally, it supports 2048 levels of precision.
Yes.
There are some problems with it, though. getting awful lippy, that cameraman. It's not our usual
He
cameraman.
hasn't even said anything.
I could sense. One of the major problems with this is, in fact, the major problem with this is that the iOS devices just aren't designed to use styluses. They don't like them. They've got to be forced to use them.
Yeah.
So you've got all sorts of things like apps have to try and do palm rejection, so that if you put your hand on the screen and try and work out, it's going to try and work out what is it and what is other.
Yeah, because you can just otherwise end up accidentally doing a bunch of multi-touch gestures.
Exactly.
Which is not ideal.
And also you can just start making lines on what you're drawing. But one of the other big problems with it as well is just, for me, it's the slippiness of working on glass. You've got a hard plastic tip and glass, and I hate writing with a ballpoint for that reason. I find it far too slidey. No, just even on paper, I find it too slippery and needs something with a bit more bite to it. And I have an arts background. I have an arts degree. You wouldn't possibly tell it from my sketches, but I do sketching. But like, you need something with a bit of grip to it. However, like, people can make great art on an iPad even just with their fingers. We've seen this. Hockney himself does very good art on an iPad. But also, like, this could be a really good little sketching tool if you're out and about, noting down stuff. I wouldn't spend $120 as a stylus to note down notes in Note Shelf with as I'm in a meeting. But as an artist tool, it's quite nice. Yeah,
I mean, it would have to be part of a pack you carry around or whatever, because it's not heavy, but it's a bit of a chunky thing. Which it should be if you want to do a lot of sketching. It needs to be comfortable to hold as well.
It's slightly imbalanced as well, I find. If you find it where the fulcrum is on the balance of it, that's
going to be a disaster. But
it's weighted too far towards the back, so that the pen is trying to fall out of your hand as you're using it. But it does work really nicely. One of the best things about it, and I forgot to bring it with me for the filming, is the charging port.
Oh, it's a little magnetic slot that it sits upright in, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's a little dongle you plug into USB, and you then sit that in. But it's got a really nice, excitingly clicky magnet. When you put it in, it's a very, very firm grasp it takes of it.
It's the little things.
And it's the little things that please me, which is quite nice. So it is a really nice thing. But I have to say, the old Adonit Jot Pro, which won't work currently.
It doesn't work. This
app is currently paired to this. Is really nice still.
Yeah, and this just works in anything.
Yeah.
So basically the gist of this is it needs a thick connection to the iPad if you like to pretend to be a finger. But what they did is they made that disk connection see-through with just a little point, so you could still write with precision. The lag when you're writing kind of ruins that to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But the theory is fine.
Yeah.
It's good. They're really good.
Yeah. So if you need a stylus, this does work. If you regularly want to write with on a tablet, though, iPad's just not for you. I would submit. I would say that a Galaxy Tab, which has got a S Pen designed to be used with it, is a better option.
Yeah, I don't know if I have, having used was it the S Pen? I've used a tablet with a pen designed to go with it. The support was kind of up and down, shall we say?
Yeah.
But it did have a few extra things like a proper Wacom digitizer, where if you hover the pen over, you can see the point at which it's going to touch before you press down. So there are a few things that do make it better. Yeah. But support in apps is kind of the key thing. And as long as these... the styluses, that's the word. As long as these styluses do have good app support, I think they're not so
zoomed.
far behind that if you wanted to sketch, you would regret buying an iPad.
Yeah. It might just be that, pencil and paper is the thing for you.
That may be the option. So, how do you feel about styluses? Do you own one? Would you buy one? Do you think it's stupid to even consider it, considering that the iPad is designed to be used without one? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget that you can subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/MacFormatUK. You can watch any of our previous episodes, and you can get a free trial of the MacFormat Interactive Wizzy iPad App Edition magazine at macformat.com/iPad.
That's it for this week. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
A little lower if you can, Ian. Thank you. Because you're very tall.
I know. I forget sometimes.
High level.
Nipple level.
No. Definitely not nipple level. All right, well, before we start with what I actually want to talk about...
You should do that again.
Should I?
I was circling my nipple.